Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening in the replay. Always appreciate you. And today's episode is going to really go over some pertinent content. So, always appreciate the live listeners, everyone that listens in the replay. Always appreciate you. So, it's going to be a awesome episode, and so just want to thank you all for tuning in live. Before we really get into the episode, this episode is going to be titled ABCs, LLCs, S Corp, C Corp, so and trust. So very important episode. Really knew that this was a pertinent topic to talk about in 2019, where a lot of people are looking to start businesses and looking forward to new opportunities. So, new opportunities are going to come in forms of entrepreneurship, investorship, knowing the different type of entities that are able to be out there and do business in. And so, excited about that. Look forward to going over that with you in this episode. So, we're going to start out like we usually do, going out over talking about some current events. Let's talk about those things, current events, and uh, good things are going on. There was $50 billion that was moved in the blockchain environment with the Ripple, and it is a who is this? This is a Middle Eastern bank, and they're using Ripple for international payments. So we always want to report the news in different industries. We always talk about the emerging markets, markets that individuals may be in, invested in, and things of that nature, or looking to invest in, and things of that nature. So always excited about that. You all can look into that story. Once again, that is a $50 billion bank investing in blockchain technology, which is really, really cool. So let's see. There was an article that says Silicon Valley could be the second richest country in the world. I think you all will be enlightened to really read that article. They say literally per person, Silicon will be the second richest country in the world behind Qatar. And having friends from Qatar has really shown me that Qatar definitely was a very wealthy nation. But just Silicon Valley alone, they say, not including other parts of the United States, they're just talking about GDP per square inch and things of that nature. The of wealth there. So, really interesting article once again to read over. Uh, Alrighty, here we go. So, just want to thank you all for tuning in live. Always want to give a significant and special thanks to everyone tuning in live, because to take time out of your schedule and listen is really, really important to the vault. Always appreciate the live support. So, just going to go straight into the episode and talk about what we want to talk about, which is the ABCs, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, and Trust. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why individuals come to the vault is because they want to get a general idea of even GPs, LPs, limited partnerships, general partnerships, and people want to decipher this whole uh, position of what they should be moving in when it comes to uh, business. And so, a lot of times, people don't receive a certain level of education. The education that is shared is just going either directly to where you're going to have to deal with getting an EIN, which is going to help you get the bank account. Everybody knows that for the businesses. So EINs are employer identification numbers. Uh, we didn't really put in sole proprietorships, but a lot of entrepreneurs are in sole proprietorships. Uh, it's a position of true ownership. It says it. Then you also have LLCs, limited liability companies. They've been very popularized, and just from experience and talking about these things, a lot of times what you encounter with the LLCs is that a lot of the banks aren't favorable for lending practices. A lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs want to get businesses growing, but LLCs don't always put them in a position where they don't have to be a PG, which is a personally guarantor towards loans towards the asset or the business itself. And so, definitely haven't always seen a lot of favorable interest and favorable results from the LLCs, other than doctors or lawyers being inside of limited partnerships or LLCs and things of that nature operating out of them. You do see a lot of large companies operating out of LLCs. I mean, as you all can see, it's really more for partnerships, and allowing people to be in a partnership and limiting their liability in those partnerships, which is really cool. You all can read about it. Google the LLCs and the benefits of them, and as well the cons. But once again, like I say, you get into a lot of times with the lending practices, you don't really see them extra favorable. Haven't had a lot of entrepreneurs report that they've had a lot of success with lending practices towards the LLC. So definitely give some type of limited liability, but at the same time, what happens when the entity is, let's just say it wants to go public, it doesn't have the ability to go public. Why doesn't it have the ability to go public? Because the entity is in a position of there's laws that state that there's certain entities are more favorable that are going public. Traditionally, you see incorporated companies, or you see C corps go public. Those are things that go public. Just look at the companies and see in what manner do they actually go public. Which is really interesting to see in itself, and you see that the benefits of going public are more in a court position, an incorporated position, and that's that. So, very interesting to see the type of environment that we're in, where you don't see a lot of individuals doing a lot of research pre getting a business. A lot of them go to schools, they don't have business teachers that have shared with them clearly the entities and what is the situation you need to be in those entities. And when you really look around, you can see that where are you going to go to get that knowledge. And so, very important to know that there's public forums that you can go to, particularly the authorities, and they let you know what entities are favorable, and things of that nature, particularly with the LLC, C corp, S corp, and entities that there's legislation on. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there's a public and there's a private. So, LLCs are traditionally going to be public. They can be held by a private entity because it's just can. A private entity is a person, so obviously it can, you know, own, or have partnership inside of a LLC, a limited liability company. Like we mentioned, you'll see those sometimes in limited partnerships or general partnerships, whereas you can see that in even an LLC, which is limited liability. So limited liability in whether it's LP, GP, or even LLC in that respect. So the S corps are what they call, sub S corps. These are entities that people have traditionally holding multiple classes of stock or holdings in multiple companies. It's interesting because before the LLC, this was the popular thing of demand at that time. Right before the LLC. Ladies and gentlemen, I, this to me is double taxation. When you look at those entities with the S corps, a lot of times you hear a lot of entrepreneurs tell you that they're double taxed, just because they're in a position of ownership. They're also in a position of being even almost a worker for the company. Really interesting, and the company taking taxes itself. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's a pass-through entity." It's really interesting when people say it's a pass-through entity, and you still hear individuals talk about tax liability with it. Really, really interesting in that respect. So having the S corp, you hear not a lot of favorable people in that respect. When you really even talk to people that have the S corps, I encourage individuals to really inquire about the S corps, not just from a lawyer perspective, even from the accounting perspective, because the accounting is really dealing with that, and they're letting what tax forms are being filled out and things of that nature. Really, really interesting to see that from the S corp position. So traditionally you see a lot of escorts just as people, like they say, as pass-throughs or holding companies. Um, the recent years haven't really seen as many escorts be put out. It's really more for a novice entrepreneur, a lot of rookie entrepreneurs that are leaving work and trying to hold assets in more of a. They're not doing LLC, but they're doing S corp. And sometimes even their LLC is classified as an S corp. You see that one across the board a lot of the times. Yeah, interesting position to say the least. And doing further research as an entrepreneur, ladies and gentlemen, you can always go into a more superior entity at any time. It's always about improving your position. A lot of people start out as a sole proprietor, they move into an LLC, and then they move into a C corp if they ever take the company public. It's even in trust. We can talk about how people privatize their lives. You see a Zuckerberg do that. You see a Bill and Melinda Gates or Bill Gates do that. Because of this situation with Bezos going through a divorce, just showing a wealthy individual, he may definitely be challenged to put more assets in a private position and not have so much exposed publicly, uh, and things of that nature. So, uh, when you look at the S corp, there's protection. You all can see that. Then you get to the C corp, where once again, the C corp has been long and touted, the original of all of them. As you all can see, it's the C corp dealing with the basically being able to issue shares. A lot of people say it's double taxation in this entity too. Uh, for various reasons, but there's ways to uh, not own but control things through being able to have entities that really, a lot of times you see a lot of individuals that have C corps. They were always thinking big from the beginning. They were looking to have shareholders, traditionally investors, through launching of a public share or public stock. You see that for sure. Incorporated can go with that, but you see a lot of C corps that people were looking to go public, think big from the beginning, looking to build a board from the beginning, have a board member, they're a member. This is the era where you see a lot of public companies right now where they're saying, "Hey, we're not the owner, we're the founder." If you go and look at a lot of the major companies that you might uh, look at and like, these are C corp companies that are in strong positions, very strong positions, able to raise capital in the public legally. You can see that, really good with that. All, of course, all these entities are able to do business, but particularly on the public side with, security exchange and issuing shares, protecting, investors, very strategic, old school entity, very, very maneuverable, very fluid, a great entity to operate in when you see in the public. Why? Look at them; they're able to raise large funds. To be able to do business throughout the world, they're able to be international entities to a degree. A lot of times, some people say, "Oh, you can operate LLCs, S corp, and C corp internationally." You rarely see that once again, and then when you look at that, you see that they're traditionally corporations. So you see people looking to open up, what do they call them, international business corporations and things of that nature. Really interesting to see that nonetheless. Um, and then you get into corporations where obviously it is an entity that is not necessarily in your complete control, not in your complete ownership, specifically have divvied up shares and things of that nature. So it's you're in a strategic position in that entity. We've seen some of the best claim that they're not receiving any money from the actual company. When we even look at Jeff Bezos, we reported on a podcast recently in some of the episodes that Bezos was reported to making $82,000 a year, and so when you look at the reporting that, oh wow, this man is only receiving a salary of $82,000 a year, that's very interesting for someone that has a company that's worth $1 billion. So you all can see that and be able to see how there's strategic planning in his environment. You all can see, hey, why am I taking more of a salary? And so, uh, yeah, we're gonna move on to what's truly private. And when you all see that it's private, you'll really understand and be able to know that okay, there's public trust and there's private trust. A lot of times, a lot of people think trusts are for estate planning. A lot of times you say, well, what's a private company? A private company is held by a trust. So the parties are disclosed. You see a lot of times, a lot of people that want to favor certain states to actually open up companies and things of that nature. It's interesting to see that, to say the least. When they're the United States is doing, all the states are doing really, really well. You go out in a lot of the states, th- there are businesses that are holding those states up, and you all can see that. And so, how we were going to do business structures. We're going to go to business structures. This is on the internet. Did we put it in? Okay. And so, we're going to go to business structures, public information. If you Google business structures, because you want to know about these entities. When beginning a business, you must decide what business form of entity to establish. Your form of business determines which income tax return you have to file. In most common business forms, the businesses are sole proprietor, partnership, GPs, LPs, S Corp, C Corp, limited liabilities. It says a limited liability company is a business structure allowed by a state statute. Legal and tax considerations enter into selecting a business structure. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, if these are all public entities, what's the private companies? These are you all can look at any major company, they're all held privately. Traditionally, most of them are held privately, and so um, when you all do your research, you have your Black's Law Dictionary, you all can see that a person is a sole proprietor. Well, was it? Yes, a person is a sole proprietor, partnership, S Corp, C Corp, S Corp, LLC, and trust in association. These are considered legal persons. And so it's interesting to see that you don't get access to all of those entities unless you are aware of certain things if you're in certain environments. And so when we even talk about associations, they didn't talk about doing business through an association. Most traditionally over on the internet, most people think charity is not a profitable environment. You say, oh, it's 501c3. A lot of people say it's nonprofit. Ladies and gentlemen, even if you're in a charity business, there's still a capital raising to that environment. Always has been, always will be, whether it's soliciting for funds, or individuals having their own funds to contribute to a charity, and invest in maybe possibly the funds with the charity, and grow out, go out and do good in the world. But where on the internet does it talk about all of the structures that you have access to in the beginning? So when you think about what's public, what's private, because when individuals list to the vault, they say we're going private. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. It's private. So it's really interesting to see that common knowledge is not out there. Associations, a lot of people do homeowners association fees. That's a person that's taxing individuals and taking their money for homeowner association fees. We're aware of homeowner association fees. Ladies and gentlemen, there are business partners, trustees, that have their own communities. It's just that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Public officers are trustees. So, a lot of times when you think about building wealth, you have to think about what entity and what's best to operate in. Why? Because they're just businesses. It says business entity or business form. So that's why we encourage you all to get a Black's Law Dictionary, so you all can really benefit from having the knowledge yourself, not depending on the vault, but having it yourself. So ABCs, LLCs, S Corp, C Corp, and trust. Say, talk to us about the trust, and it's an old entity, ladies and gentlemen. It's like the insurance policies that wealthy people use. And we talk about that. You think wealthy people don't want you to get insurance? They do want you to get insurance. It helps their companies grow in insurance policies. But when you understand the perpetuation of wealth through insurance policies, that the fact that you're even utilizing insurance policies to grow your wealth, it shows that you are looking to be in a position of perpetuating wealth. Why? Because when you pass, wealth is perpetuated. See, this is the thought process of a wealthy individual. They say a good man but gives something to his children. That's all it is, ladies and gentlemen, just giving something to your children. So, really excited about what we went over today. If you all have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. But definitely wanted to go over and cover this topic. Uh, Individuals as what's the benefit? You know, when you come to a workshop, you get that benefit. When you enroll in trustee training, that's why we have trustee training. Because as a trustee, you know, as a family estate, you traditionally multiple family members might have multiple businesses. So sharp eldership counsel is always important, in being able to find the pieces to put together your team of board of trustees, family estate, to manage these different LLCs, S corps, and C corps is very critical in the protection and perpetuation of the family wealth. So it's very important to get in trustee training if that's something you want to do. You know, it's the 12-week course. We're already 2 weeks in, and we're gonna end enrollment here in the next week or so. Just because the first month is still very critical, and then you move into those additional weeks, and really excited about having those individuals and families that have, you know, always made it a point to say, hey, you know, we're gonna go with the vault and make it a point to be with the vault. Really excited about that. It's really exciting anyways, because you know, you see people that say, okay, there's a public and there's a private, and I understand the difference. And so always exciting about that, to see people know that there's a difference, because it is. And so Christian at trustchristian.com is the email, and welcome to the vault.com is the website. So really wanted to do this episode because as we look over it again, it really gives you a clear understanding of what's out there, what's available, more than one option, more than one website, to see that you got to know that there's more available. And once you're able to, even if you guys want a consultation just to say, hey, LLCs, S corp, C corp, you know, what's kind of best for me in this situation. You know, you could go to a financial advisor, even who's that, like insurance guys, and they're going to put you in a contract, which all of these entities are contracts. So it's very important to go more to a business development route, find out what's going to be favorable. A lot of times, like we said, we get a lot of entrepreneurs that want loans, and we've always seen success with the C corps. A lot of, you know, trustees have entrepreneurs that have C corps that are going out and getting loans, and they're able to build the company out in more of a lot more strategic fashion. You know, it's interesting to see still the development of S corps and C corps, the laws that are on those entities, even the laws of trust and things of nature. Each entity has a law, so it's very important for you to even know the basic laws for those entities, the basic accounting for those entities, because that's very important. So we always encourage that level of study, but the consultation can help you lead you in the right direction as far as questions that you want to ask, things of that nature. Still doing trustee training, so really exciting, happy to know that we have a great audience. We appreciate you all. Cassandra, Latia, DeHaruz, um, Latia, Gabriella, Ernest. We always appreciate everybody tuning in live. Like we said, we know it's a time commitment, but really just wanted to do a short snippet of S corps, C corps, and LLCs, and there's more content on the vault about that. We always want to talk about the basic public entities that are out there, because those are public entities that, you know, still it's like, woo, which one do I get in? You know, as an entrepreneur, you know, as even as an investor, you know, what entity is best as an investor to be in, you know, because you're gonna have to pick a structure, and so, or a business entity, we should say, and so, you know, definitely excited about sharing the content with you all and coming before you. Feel free to reach out, Christian at Trust Christian, and at the Vault. Welcome to the Vault.com. Listening to past episodes. There's going to be a ton of past episodes on that website. You can go there. Welcome to the Vault. Get on the email list as well. Find out about future workshops, or as well the next 12-week course may not be a back-to-back scenario. A lot of people have asked. May not be a back-to-back scenario. You know, just you have a good group of trustees. You always sometimes want to even ride it out a little bit longer, possibly than even 12 weeks. But 12 weeks is very concise, very direct, very pinpointed to the point of the knowledge that you need as trusteeship developing trusteeship. Everybody asks, well, what's trustee training? It's a continuing education program. Always has been, always will be. You don't just stop at trustee training, but trustee training sometimes is a start for people, and sometimes it's just a continuing education program for a lot of individuals that are out in trust, a lot of individuals that are out in different businesses that they're managing, and continuing education as a trustee or a business owner, or entrepreneurs we call them. And they trust Christian, know not to control everything. And so really excited about it. Appreciate you all for tuning in live once again, or listening to replay. Feel free to share this with your friends and family that you want to make sure that your family estates are perpetuated, and that comes from being around like-minded people, as we always talk about. So very excited about that. Look forward to hearing from you. Christian at Trust Christian. Peace.